There are three virtues that tell us exactly what our lives should be about. And I'm sure you know what these virtues are. The theological virtues, faith, hope, and love. Faith, hope, and love. We need these three because without them, we cannot truly survive. These three virtues are necessary for any family to grow together. Without these three virtues, the family will not survive. So should I repeat that? Without these virtues, the family will not survive. Each family needs faith, hope, and love. But somehow, based on our first two readings, it seems as if the glue in those three virtues, it's faith. Because actually, faith causes us to look beyond ourselves, to look outside of ourselves, to recognize that there is something else out there. And then we come to realize that it is not just something, it is someone else who is out there. And therefore, that faith needs to be put in that person who exists there. And that will help us to live the lives that we need. So we heard in our first reading that Abram put his faith in the Lord, and this was counted to him as righteousness. Righteousness meaning the right way to live. So without putting that faith in God, Abram would never have lived the right kind of life. And we heard that faith of Abram being extolled in our second reading. But when God wanted people to recognize himself, he sent his son Jesus into this world. He sent his son to be with these two persons. These persons who would be his parents' heir. And without that son being in the middle of it all, there would have been no holy family. Because when we look at it, when the announcement of the birth of Jesus was made to Mary and to Joseph, they were told one thing in particular, that this child would be called Jesus. This child would be the glue that would hold them together. Because clearly, Mary and Joseph, they had hope in that their hope was in what they knew that God would do. God would do something down the road because they knew that God would send that Messiah. They knew that. So they had that hope. And they also had that love. But then their faith had to be exercised as they put that faith in this child. And that's what we heard in the gospel reading. Because they brought the child to present him in the temple. And notice that Simeon was happy to embrace that child. He had to put his faith in this Jesus. And he recognized in Jesus not only the beginning of all things, but the end of all things as well. So this is why he could pray, Lord, you can let your servant now go in peace because my eyes have seen. I have seen and I believe. I believe in this child. And then he spoke about this child. We're told that both Mary and Joseph were amazed at the things that were said about their child. They were amazed. But somehow, I think that their amazement was that other people were getting it. And Mary, of course, had an inkling of this. Because remember when she went to visit her cousin Elizabeth, Elizabeth spoke about the child that was in Mary's womb. So there was that faith in that child in the womb. And now we see the faith in this child who is being presented, and he was being embraced by Simeon. But there was also someone else there, Anna. Anna, she had hope. That's why she had spent all her time staying in the temple. And when the child came in, she knew, yes, this is it. And we're told that Anna could not stop talking about this child. It's that faith. And really, this is what we're celebrating when we celebrate the Feast of the Holy Family. We're celebrating love and hope, but above all, we're celebrating faith. Because all these persons that we see, Mary and Joseph embraced that child. Simeon embraced the child. We're not sure if Anna embraced him physically, but she embraced what he stood for. And her faith was secure. And so, my sisters and brothers, as we celebrate this Feast of the Holy Family, it is a time for us to think about our faith in that child Jesus. That child who did not remain a child, but who grew up. That child who moved from the manger, who moved from that manger into the arms of his parents and of Simeon, but that child who moved into the arms of the Heavenly Father, so that he could say when he was on the cross, into your hands I commend my spirit. And when we look at him on the cross, we see those arms outstretched, because what he wants to do is to embrace us as well. And when we allow him to embrace us, that's when we will be confirmed in our faith. So we learn all of this from Mary and Joseph as well, because they allowed the child to embrace them. Their lives were transformed. And this is why we're told that after he was presented in the temple, after they had done all that was required, then they went back home. And this child lived in obedience among them, because they too were living in obedience to God. So, my sisters and brothers, let us then on this day renew our faith in Jesus. Let us ask Mary and Joseph to help us to do it, because they did it. And as we embrace this child, as we embrace this Jesus, then let us, like Anna, go out into the world and tell everybody about him so that they can be called into faith in him.